You ever have one of those days where the universe gives you a choice? Walk away quietly or kick the door in? Yeah, that was Tuesday for me. It started innocent enough. My watch broke. Not a dramatic break, just a second hand stuck in place kind of thing. This old leather-strapped piece of history had been with me since college, back when I still thought real love was invincible and coffee didn't need oat milk. Anyway, I brought it into a little watch repair shop downtown, small place, smelled like brass and secrets. The guy behind the counter was polishing a Rolex like it owed him money. Didn't look up when I entered. Just said, "Be with you in a minute." No rush. I had a long lunch break and no intention of spending it with spreadsheets. I leaned on the glass display, watching him work. That's when I heard it, the laugh. Now, I've heard my wife's laugh 1,000 times. From the early days, when it came easy, like a reflex, to the later years, when it felt more like something she performed on cue. But this laugh? It was real. Loud. Unapologetic. Like someone had tickled a joy she hadn't felt in years. I turned instinctively. There she was. Ashley, my wife, sitting at a tiny table in the corner of the shop's adjoining cafe, wearing that denim jacket I bought her last Christmas, the one she said made her look too young, which is hilarious now in hindsight, laughing at something the man across from her had just said. Tall guy. Strong jaw. Wearing the kind of suit that said, "I take myself very seriously, and my cologne cost more than your rent." I blinked, half thinking it was a dream. I almost smiled. Maybe it was a surprise. Maybe she was planning something. A gift. A coincidence. But then her hand reached out. She touched his wrist. Gently. Too gently. And then I noticed he was wearing a watch. A very familiar one. My watch. The one I lost 3 months ago. The one I had torn the house apart looking for, while she said, "You probably left it at the gym." I hadn't been to the gym in 4 months. But I let it go. I stared. Couldn't move. Couldn't blink. He leaned in and said something else. She laughed again. Same laugh. And this time, she touched his chest. The guy behind the counter finally looked up and said, "Can I help you?" I nodded slowly, peeled myself off the glass, and said, "Yeah, you already have." I turned around and left. Didn't say a word. Didn't make a scene. But as I stepped outside, the weight in my chest told me this wasn't just about a watch. This was the beginning of the unraveling. And I was about to find out just how deep the thread ran. I didn't bring up what I saw right away. Not because I was scared. Not because I was in denial. But because I wanted to be sure. See, you learn something when you've been with someone long enough. Their habits. Their tells. When they're lying. When they're trying not to lie. And most importantly, when they're preparing to. 2 days after the watch shop incident, Ashley texted me around noon. "Can we do dinner Friday night? Just us? I want to talk." I read it 3 times. She'd never sent a message like that in our marriage, not since year 1, when she still left notes in my lunchbox. So I played it cool. "Sure." I wrote back. "I'll make a reservation." "Already made," she replied. 7 o'clock, Marseilles. Interesting. Marseilles wasn't our usual spot. Too fancy. Too loud. Too, not us. I showed up Friday on the dot. She was already there, dressed in that red silk blouse I hadn't seen in months. Hair curled. Makeup precise. Like she was heading into a job interview for a promotion she already knew she was getting. I gave her a nod, sat across from her, and said, "You look nice." She smiled. Tight. Almost. Rehearsed. "Thanks for coming," she said. "No problem," I replied. "You wanted to talk." She folded her hands on the table like a lawyer about to deliver a closing argument. "I feel like we've been distant lately." I nodded. "Sure." She looked down. Then back up. "There's someone I want you to meet." I froze. I thought this was just the 2 of us. "It is," she said. "But I asked him to come too. I didn't want to keep secrets anymore." And that's when he walked in. Mr. Rolex. Same jawline. Same smug confidence. This time, in a navy blazer with zero humility. He walked over to the table, didn't even hesitate, and shook my hand like we were about to play a round of golf. "Hey," he said. "Logan, right?" "I'm Chase." I didn't respond. Just looked at Ashley. Her eyes didn't flinch. She motioned toward the seat next to her. "Sit down, Chase." He did. Like it was normal. Like I wasn't sitting there with a head full of alarm bells and a heart about to file for early retirement. Chase leaned forward, resting one elbow on the table. "I wanted to come because, well, we don't believe in hiding things," he said, with the kind of grin you'd expect from a guy trying to sell you a timeshare in a war zone. Ashley reached for her wine glass. Logan, she said, softly now. Chase and I have been talking. Talking, I echoed. You mean like therapy? Or like hide the wedding ring in your purse kind of talking? She didn't laugh. Neither did I. Chase cleared his throat. We wanted to give you the respect of hearing it from us. Together. I looked at them. Really looked. She wasn't nervous. She wasn't ashamed. She was resolved. And that told me everything. This wasn't the beginning of an affair. It was the presentation of it. Like a PowerPoint with one slide. You've been replaced. Here's why you should smile about it. I smiled instead. Because deep down, I realized something. They thought I was being ambushed. What they didn't know. They just fired the starter pistol. And the race wasn't over. Not even close. I got home that night feeling clean. Not peaceful. Not calm. Just clean. Like someone had finally cut the strings on a puppet I didn't know I was. Ashley stayed out. No, I'll be home late text. No explanation. Didn't need one. I knew. That's the thing. Once you've looked a lie in the face and watched it smirk at you over Pinot Noir, you stop giving it the benefit of the doubt. I poured myself a drink. Sat on the edge of our bed. The one we'd picked out together. Memory foam, they said. Keeps you cool. Ironic, really. Her perfume still clung to the pillows. But this time, there was something else under it. Something musky. Not mine. I started looking not because I was suspicious anymore, but because I needed it. Proof. Cold, hard proof. Not the kind you feel. The kind you can hold. First stop, her vanity. There, nestled under her pile of receipts and makeup brushes, was her tablet. Unlocked. She never thought I'd look. And that was her second mistake. First mistake was thinking I wouldn't recognize the hotel room in the photos. A mirror selfie. Her in lingerie I'd never seen. Date stamped last weekend. Same weekend she'd said she was at a baby shower in Sacramento. There were others. One of her in a bathrobe holding 2 champagne glasses. One of him Chase in the mirror behind her, shirtless, grinning. But the worst? A video. Short. Shaky. Just audio at first. Her voice. He has no idea. He thinks I'm still at Target. His voice. You're a dangerous woman. She laughed. That same laugh from the watch shop. I hit pause. Didn't need to hear more. I dropped the tablet on the bed like it was toxic. Walked to the closet. Nothing out of place, except a pair of heels. Red. Glossy. Price tag still on the bottom. Ashley hadn't worn heels in months around me. I sat back down, glass in hand, and stared into the dark hallway. That's when her message buzzed in. You didn't have to do that. You embarrassed yourself. No, are you okay? No, we need to talk. Just that. Cold. Like I was the child who threw a tantrum at the dinner table and got sent to bed without dessert. That's when something in me snapped. Not loud. Not angry. Just final. I didn't throw anything. Didn't scream. Didn't cry. I just said aloud to no one. It's warped then. I opened the drawer next to my side of the bed. Pulled out a manila folder I hadn't touched in 2 years. Labeled, just in case. Inside were the little things she'd never known I kept. Bank statements. Password lists. Emails I wasn't supposed to see. One particularly curious receipt from a florist, 12 roses sent to A. Fields, Chase Donovan's assistant. She signed for it. On Valentine's Day. Cute. I laid the folder out on the bed. Tonight, I wasn't sleeping on memory foam. I was sleeping on ammunition. Revenge isn't loud. It's not smashing plates or dramatic speeches in the rain. It's quieter. Colder. A slow pull on a string that unravels everything the other person thought was secure. That's the headspace I woke up in. Ashley still hadn't come home. I didn't text her. Didn't ask. Didn't care. I'd already moved past the emotional flailing most men get stuck in. No begging. No bargaining. No waiting by the door like some Labrador hoping she changed her mind. I had a new goal now, build the truth like a case file. And then, when the time was right, hand-deliver it with a smile. The first step was Chase. My wife's protein shake sipping, smug-laughing coworker. I knew his name, obviously. But now I needed more. I needed history. Skeletons. Emails. Anything that would prove this wasn't just a fling, but a full-blown operation with secrets, patterns, and lies built deep. You'd be amazed how much a man can learn in a morning with LinkedIn, an old college login, and the memory of a birthday overheard 3 years ago. Chase Donovan, 38, single, ambitious, narcissistic in that TED Talk kind of way. Self-proclaimed marketing guru. Worked in 2 agencies before ending up at Everlane Creative, where Ashley just so happened to work late every Thursday. He had a portfolio site. It had testimonials, blog posts, photos. I clicked through them all. There was something so punchable about his face in every image, smiling like he knew some secret. He did, but not for long. I kept digging. A Reddit account tied to his email, full of comments under the handle at Visionary Vibes 85. Mostly marketing talk, gym routines, but one thread caught my eye. If she's married, that's her problem. I'm just helping her figure out what she really wants. Posted 2 months ago, under a thread called Dating Someone Who's Taken. I smiled, printed it, pinned it to my growing corkboard of receipts. Now, the second step, gather my allies. Not friends, this wasn't a group chat or council. No, I needed quiet observers. People who knew things. People who had seen but hadn't said. So I called Danielle. Not that Danielle. Not a love interest or a rebound. Danielle was Ashley's former coworker. She left the company last year, right after the new management took over. We hadn't spoken much, but we'd always been friendly in that we both know Ashley can be a bit much sometimes kind of way. I called her under the pretense of catching up. Harmless. She answered on the third ring. Logan? Wow, it's been forever. I kept it light. Hey, yeah, just thinking about people from the old crew. Figured I'd see how you're doing. We chatted for a bit, surface-level stuff. Then I casually slipped it in. So, random question. Back when you worked with Ashley, was Chase always hanging around? Or did that happen after you left? Silence. Just for a beat. Then she sighed. I was wondering when someone would bring that up. Bingo. People saw it, she said. They weren't exactly subtle. Always leaving together, flirting in meetings, inside jokes. HR didn't care Chase was close with the VP. Everyone just looked the other way. She didn't say affair, but she didn't have to. She did, however, offer to send me photos from the office Christmas party, one of which, she claimed, featured Ashley adjusting Chase's tie while he held her waist. I thanked her, hung up, stared at the wall for a moment. This wasn't just an affair. This was a workplace love story funded by our shared bank account. Step 3. The notebook. Every man in denial should own one. Not a digital doc. Not a note on your phone. An actual, leather-bound notebook that lives in your drawer until the day the clouds part and you realize the person you trusted has been playing you like a fiddle with broken strings. I've been jotting little things in it for a year. Changes. Patterns. Client dinner at 9 p.m. / came home without appetite. Weekend in Tahoe equals different perfume than usual. At the time, I didn't know what I was tracking. Now, it all clicked. Her business trips lined up perfectly with Chase's client meetings in New York, Austin, and Denver. Different cities. Different excuses. Same lies. But the best entry? August 14th. Found plane ticket stub in jacket pocket. One way from Seattle. She said she drove. I didn't confront her back then. Just wrote it down, wondering if I was being paranoid. Turns out I was just early. The final piece of the day came from a place I didn't expect. My neighbor, Tom. Older guy. Retired. Spends half his life watering his lawn and the other half pretending he's not eavesdropping through the hedges. He caught me on my way back from the mailbox. Logan, he said, too chipper. You got a minute? I nodded, half expecting a conversation about squirrels digging holes again. Instead, he leaned in, dropped his voice, and said, I don't want to stir anything up, but your wife's been having a lot of jogging sessions with some guy in a silver Tesla. He parks around the corner and walks over. Doesn't look like a running coach, if you catch my drift. I caught it. Oh, and one more thing, Tom added. That guy? He drove off once with your dog in the back seat. My dog. My mutt, Max, who only sits in my truck and won't even let the vet touch him without bribery. Must be quite the charmer, Tom said, sipping his iced tea. Or your wife's feeding him bacon behind your back. I laughed. Not because it was funny. Because the absurdity had reached new heights. Even the dog had been co-opted. That night, I sat at my desk, surrounded by papers, timelines, quotes, and screenshots. What had started as a hunch was now a full-blown dossier. And I wasn't done yet. But here's the beautiful part about betrayal. If someone thinks you're weak, they never see you coming. Most people think revenge starts with rage. Wrong. Rage burns fast, then leaves you empty. No, real revenge starts with planning. And planning takes patience. So that's what I became. Patient. Ashley came home Sunday night. 3 days late. No explanation. Just walked in like it was normal, dropped her purse on the counter, and said, "The fridge stinks. Did you forget to take out the trash?" That was it. No apology. No lie. Not even a performance. I didn't respond. Just looked at her. Not with anger, with study. Like a scientist observing a specimen that used to mean something. She took the silence as weakness. Smirked like I'd accepted my role as the doormat in her little rebooted romance series. "I'm going to take a shower," she said. "Of course you are." She disappeared down the hall. The second I heard the water running, I moved. To the garage. To the filing cabinet. Bottom drawer. Combination lock. December 19th, 44. Inside, the living trust. Ashley's name was on everything. She'd insisted. "It just makes sense," she'd said. "You hate paperwork." I didn't argue back then. Because I loved her. Because I was stupid. But now? That document was a loaded gun. And she didn't even know her finger was on the trigger. The next morning, I called a lawyer. Not just any lawyer. Jeremy Takano. Quiet guy. Looked like he'd rather be fixing antique watches than sorting out legal wars. But Jeremy was sharp and discreet. He met me in his office above a bookstore, where the scent of leather and old paper made everything feel more deliberate. "I want to amend the trust," I said, sliding the folder across his desk. "Transfer the primary asset to a new LLC. I'll be the only member." He flipped through the papers. "Divorce coming?" he asked casually, like he was asking if I wanted cream in my coffee. "Something like that." He nodded. "You'll want a clean title transfer, and we'll need to notify the mortgage lender. You'll also need to establish the LLC with the Secretary of State. I can draft everything." "Good. And one more thing, I want the address changed on the record." Jeremy raised an eyebrow. "Hiding an asset?" "No," I said, sipping my coffee. "Just putting it somewhere it can't be broken into when I'm not looking." He smiled. "Understood." With the legal side in motion, I turned to the digital. I set up a hidden camera in the living room. Small. Motion activated. Synced to a burner phone that stayed in the glove compartment of my truck. I didn't need hours of footage. I just needed moments. Then I created a new folder on my laptop. Named it Vacation Photos. Inside, I saved every piece of evidence like snapshots from a trip I never asked to take. Photos of Ashley and Chase at the work event. The audio clip from the hotel. The text she forgot to delete. A calendar overlay I made showing how their late work nights coincided with Chase's travel dates. I even had a map with pins. Chase's gym, his office, the rooftop wine bar where Ashley just had to go every other Thursday. It wasn't obsession. It was architecture. A week passed. Ashley got bolder. She stopped pretending. Came home late. Took calls in the guest bathroom. Laughed like I couldn't hear through drywall. Left her laptop open on the kitchen counter while FaceTiming Chase, like I was invisible in my own house. "You're not wearing that to the presentation, are you?" she said one night, catching sight of me as I came down the stairs. I was in jeans and a t-shirt. "Why?" She smirked. "You just look tired." "I am tired," I said, "of pretending this is still a marriage." Her eyes narrowed. She blinked once, calculating. "Then maybe we should stop pretending." There it was. Not a question. A declaration. And instead of arguing, I nodded. "Calm. You're right," I said. "Let's not pretend." She seemed almost disappointed. Like she expected me to explode. Yell. Beg. She didn't understand the silence was the warning. That night, I called my cousin Nate. Nate runs a home renovation business and owes me more than a few favors. 10 years ago, I lent him 15 grand to keep his company afloat after a supply chain collapse. Never asked for it back. No? I wanted a return on that investment. "I need you to do some work on the lake house," I said. "What kind of work?" "Nothing complicated. Just want to change the locks, replace the security system, and move everything of mine up there. Documents, safe, that painting in the hallway. You know the one." He whistled low. "You hiding from the IRS or from someone with nicer shoes?" "I'll explain later." "Can you do it?" "Done." I started sleeping in the guest room after that. Told Ashley I snore worse than I used to. She didn't object. Honestly, she seemed relieved. But I wasn't retreating. I was relocating. Because the next move was already planned. Not a dramatic one. Not yet. First, I'd pull the rug. Then, I'd let them dance on bare floor. Then, I'd pull the floor. As I lay in bed that night, Max jumped up next to me. My loyal mutt, shoved into a stranger's Tesla just weeks ago like he was baggage. I scratched behind his ears. "You knew before I did, huh?" He licked my hand. I stared at the ceiling, feeling the silence stretch long and deep. It wasn't over. It hadn't even started. It started with an invitation. Ashley slid it across the table like she was handing me a takeout menu. Company holiday party, she said, sipping her smoothie. They want spouses there this year. Big client reveal. Should be fun. I stared at the card. Gold letters. Curved font. Pretentious enough to make a statement. Everlane Creative Presence, a toast to the future. Friday, 7 p.m. Formal attire. It would have been funny if it wasn't so perfectly ironic. A toast to the future, mine was already in motion. Hers? About to short-circuit in front of champagne flutes and name tags. I looked up. You sure you want me there? Ashley blinked. Not surprised. Not offended. Just calculating. Well, I am your wife, she said with a tight smile. I nodded. For now. She laughed. Thought I was joking. That was the last time I'd hear her laugh in my direction. Friday came fast. I wore the black suit I hadn't touched since my cousin's wedding. Clean lines, sharp cut, subtle vengeance. Ashley walked out in a navy blue dress. Hair curled. That same perfume I once loved, now soured by memory. You look expensive, I said. She smirked. You're not too bad yourself. We drove in silence. She fiddled with her phone, probably checking to see if Chase had arrived. I didn't ask. She didn't offer. But I already knew. See, earlier that day, I'd paid a visit to an old friend from college, Derek, a DJ who now runs AV for corporate events. He was running sound and lights for the party. I brought him coffee and a USB drive. Can you play this for me? I asked, just at the right moment. He looked at the files, then looked at me. You're about to ruin somebody's year. I shrugged. Only if they deserve it. The venue was a sleek rooftop lounge. Chrome. Glass. Faux intimacy lit by dimmed Edison bulbs and overpriced wine. Ashley glided through the crowd like she was born for it, greeting coworkers, laughing with executives. And then I saw him. Chase. Leaning near the bar, drink in hand, talking to Ashley's assistant like he was auditioning to be the next bachelor. He spotted me. Didn't flinch. Just nodded, like we were two dads at a little league game instead of men occupying opposite ends of a very loaded secret. Ashley waved him over. Logan, she said. You've met Chase, of course. I smiled. Extended a hand. Of course. Hard to forget the man of the hour. He shook it. Firm. Dry palm. Not a trace of guilt. How's work been? He asked, sipping his drink like he already owned the evening. I chuckled. You know what they say, can't complain. Not when things are finally clearing up. He cocked his head. Ashley touched his arm. I'm gonna find the restroom, she said. Be right back. She walked away. Chase turned to me. Lowered his voice. Look, man. I don't want things to be weird. They're not, I said. Weird is temporary. What comes after? That's the part I'm interested in. He blinked. Meaning? I leaned in slightly. You ever watch dominoes fall in reverse? He stared. I patted him on the back. Enjoy the party. The evening rolled on. Speeches. Applause. Wine glasses clinking. Ashley on Chase's arm now. No more hiding. Good. I wanted everyone watching. Because just before the CEO gave his final speech, I slipped over to the DJ booth. Derek gave me a nod. Ready? I nodded back. Let it play. The lights dimmed. A big screen behind the stage lit up. Faux marble background, company logo, slideshow vibes. Then, the video started. Not their corporate video. My video. Ashley's voice filled the room first, echoing through the speakers. He has no idea. He thinks I'm still at Target. Laughter from her. Then Chase's voice. You're a dangerous woman. More laughter. Then a photo, a hotel mirror selfie of Ashley, grinning in a robe, champagne glass in hand. A timestamp. Another audio clip. If she's married, that's her problem. I'm just helping her figure out what she really wants. Posted by @VisionaryVibes85. The room froze. Ashley's smile died first. Chase turned white. One of the interns gasped audibly. Someone dropped a wine glass. And me? I stood by the open bar, sipping ginger ale like it was a damn fine Merlot. The CEO fumbled for the mic. Ladies and gentlemen, we're experiencing some sort of technical. Too late. The next photo showed Chase and Ashley in the Everlane break room. Her hand on his chest. Camera angle from the ceiling. Derek had timed it perfectly. Just a taste. Just enough. Then, cut to black. Silence. Then the music kicked back on, but nobody danced. Nobody clapped. Just murmurs, shifting eyes, and Chase slowly stepping away from Ashley like she'd burst into flames. I watched her look around. Watched realization spread across her face like ink in water. And then, finally, she looked at me, horrified, like she'd seen a ghost wearing her husband's smile. We didn't speak in the car ride home. She reached for the stereo. I turned it off. She opened her mouth once, then closed it again. At the house, she walked straight to the bedroom. I stayed downstairs in the office, pulled out a manila envelope from my drawer. Inside, a printed copy of the revised living trust, the property transfer, the LLC documents, the updated deed. I laid them on the table like trophies. Beside them, I placed a final note. Ashley, consider tonight your early retirement. The house is mine. The car too. You'll receive the papers Monday. No need to pack in a rush. Just don't unpack too deeply. I'll be out by morning. But you're not coming with me. L. I left it there, next to her wine glass, next to her fake smile. And I went to bed. Not ours. The guest room. Mine. For one more night. I left before sunrise. Packed the last of my things into the truck, clothes, laptop, Macs, and a cooler full of meals I'd prepped the night before like I was heading into war with protein and coffee grounds. Ashley never came downstairs. I half expected a final confrontation, maybe some sobbing, an apology born from embarrassment rather than regret. But the house was silent. I left the front door unlocked. Let her feel what it's like when someone you thought was always coming back doesn't. My cousin Nate met me at the lake house. He handed me the new keys, fresh locks, and a thumbs up without asking questions. Inside, everything smelled like cedar and new beginnings. I set Max's bed down near the fireplace and let him explore while I sat at the dining table with a cup of black coffee and the deed to the house in my name alone. It felt good. Not joyful. Not vindictive. Just clean. It took 3 days for the fallout to hit full speed. Ashley called. 10 times. No voicemails, just that desperate, guilt-laced ringing. I didn't answer. Then came the texts. We need to talk. You blindsided me. You humiliated me on purpose. How could you do this after everything? And finally, the truth slipped through. He's not who I thought he was. There it is. Turns out, Chase didn't stick around. Once the party fallout hit HR, and the board got wind of inappropriate interoffice conduct, he jumped ship. Or maybe he was pushed. Either way, he was gone. Ashley, from what I gathered, was placed on leave, which is corporate speak for, we're waiting for this to blow over so we can quietly bury you beneath a non-disclosure agreement. I didn't respond to her messages. Not one. You can't reason with someone who only wants closure when they've run out of excuses. By the time the divorce papers hit her inbox, she was quiet. No rebuttal. No fights over the house. Probably because she knew she'd already lost. I'd moved everything into the LLC before she even saw it coming. The house, the second property, the car, all protected, documented, and legally mine. Not out of cruelty. Just out of foresight. My lawyer called after she signed. Want to celebrate? He asked. I said, nah. Just send me the confirmation. Click. And that was that. 19 months of suspicion, 3 months of quiet preparation, one party, and a single video file. It all ended not with a bang, but with a document. Finalized. Done. Clean. I changed my number the next day. Not to hide. Just to stop giving away pieces of myself to someone who only valued them when they were gone. I got a letter in the mail 2 weeks later. Handwritten. Sloppy script. A little smudge in the corner like a teardrop tried to land but dried up halfway. Logan. I can't sleep. I think about everything. I miss Max. I miss waking up and hearing you in the kitchen. I was stupid. I don't know what I thought I was chasing. I think I just wanted someone to tell me I was still wanted. But Chase wasn't you. He wasn't even close. You didn't deserve what I did. You were better than me, and maybe I resented you for it. Please believe that I loved you once. That part was real. No return address. No signature. Just A. I folded it. Placed it in the fire pit. Watched it curl, blacken, and lift as ash into the sky. Max sat beside me, tail tapping softly against the porch. There was no satisfaction in her regret. Because I didn't need it. I didn't need to win. I just needed the peace that comes from no longer trying to love someone who only saw me as background music to her main event. Now I wake up early. I walk the lake trail with Max. I brew my coffee slow. I work when I want, eat what I want, and laugh, not because someone told a joke, but because the silence finally feels like home. And sometimes I still think about her, but not with bitterness. Just as a reminder of how easily something can rot when you leave the door unlocked. So I keep mine shut now. tight. And if someone ever wants in again, they'll have to knock hard.